Welcome everyone! Today's game is a classic man versus machine showdown. In 1997, Garry Kasparov played his second match against Deep Blue, and this must be the most famous game, but it's also a game Kasparov would rather forget. Let's get this started. Deep Blue had white and opened with e4, c6, and after d4, d5 we have the Caro-Kann defense. Deep Blue played the most classical line with knight to c3, pawn takes, knight to d7. Just a very solid move. Black would like to develop the other knight to f6, and if white trades, then he can recapture with the knight. That's reasonable of course, but it does allow white to play more aggressively with knight to g5. And you may think, that knight isn't threatening anything, what if I just go h6? Well, then white has a very cool move, knight to e6. That's attacking queen and bishop. Black's best is therefore to get the queen out to b6, and then white just takes a bishop. He has to do that because he cannot take, because it's a mate in 2. Going back to the game, that's why Kasparov didn't go h6, he simply developed the other knight. Then bishop to d3 and e6. But after knight from 1 to f3, it was here that Kasparov actually made a very poor decision. I've used this term before, he was playing hope chess. That's when you play a move that you know is bad, but you just cover your eyes and silently pray that your opponent doesn't find the right move. He played h6, and Kasparov later said that he figured the computer would only play a piece sacrifice if it wins right away. He thought if the sacrifice is more positional and you're playing for some long-term compensation, the computer isn't smart enough to see that yet. Well, that was a bad plan because Deep Blue did know the best move, and similar to before, that's knight takes e6. Kasparov basically beat himself by going for this, because thanks to this move, Deep Blue ended up not only winning the game, but the match as well. Remember, always assume your opponent finds the best move. Only hoping for the best is just a bad way of thinking. And in this case it's actually even worse than usual, because Deep Blue of course doesn't have to calculate the sacrifice if the move is simply in his opening book, which it was. Anyway, Kasparov didn't want to take, because after check, king e7 and bishop to f4, black is just really tied up. Instead he went queen to e7, and only after castles did he take the knight. Still, the king will be displaced after bishop check, king to d8, and after bishop to f4, let's take stock. White only has a pawn for the piece, but it's easily winning anyway. Black's development and piece coordination is terrible. Black's king is stuck in the middle of the board. Meanwhile, Deep Blue has active pieces, his king is completely safe, and he just has to make simple moves like rook to e1 and start opening up the position after c4. Black's king will simply be ripped to shreds. Kasparov went b5, and Deep Blue said thank you for giving me another target and played a4. White wants to open up the position. Then bishop to b7, rook to e1, and knight to d5. Of course, Deep Blue wants to preserve that wonderful bishop. It's not easy to move for black now. Kasparov shuffled his king to c8. At least that takes the sting out of bishop to h4, which could skewer king and queen. But now white simply takes on b5 and goes queen to d3, targeting the weak pawn, also connecting the rooks. Bishop to c6 was played to defend, but now a simple move, bishop to f5. The pawn is pinned, it cannot be defended. The best black can do was win bishop and rook for the queen, but after c4, already on move 19, Kasparov couldn't take it anymore and resigned. There's no hope for black. If he moves the knight away, then you can simply take a pawn and follow up with knight to e5 with all kinds of threats. And if instead pawn takes c4, then queen takes, threatening the bishop. If the knight defends, rook to e1, planning to remove the defender and then take the knight. For example, rook to e8, rook takes bishop, and after the recapture, queen takes knight, and with the unsafe king, loose pieces and lack of counterplay, there's just nothing that black can do. So that was just a complete wipeout. But going back here, it was already on move 19 that Kasparov lost this game, and with that he also lost the match 3.5 to 2.5. He really had himself to blame going for this terrible h6 move, and his only plan was hoping that Deep Blue wouldn't know that the piece sacrifice was good. That's something an amateur would try, and honestly, after the computer punished that move, he did make Kasparov look like one. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you learned something or enjoyed the video, please do me a favor and simply like the video. Check out the playlist for many more games, there's already more underway. I'll be seeing you guys again soon, and take care.